but we are not comparable in terms of the average revenue per tourist, or they call it tourism revenue. And in terms of the number of nights that is here. Similarly, we in the state of Perak suffered even worse because we have the longest highway, so people tend to go, because the international airport is either in Penang or in KL, so they landed in KL, they make a trip to Penang by car, and they only stop by at the rest and service area, have few drinks, and then they go. So one of the very first thing that we did when we look at I mentioned earlier about economic promotion is to focus on tourism. Is how do we punch a hole? We see this as a part of water that travel between Penang and KL with a lot of money. You know, how do we punch a hole and make sure the water comes out and goes into the bucket? This is exactly what we do. In fact, in the past few years, that's why the pursuit towards UNESCO Lengkong Valley, I think Banjaran has been getting a lot of, 25 units as almost every weekend is full. We've got about a dozen new hotels that come up. So these are some of the initiatives that they have taken. And I hope the future statistics will change somehow in terms of spending. But still, we realize we are far away compared to, if you look at tourism statistics in Thailand, particularly Phuket, Bangkok, and in Indonesia particularly. And definitely we are way behind Singapore. There are a lot.
Yeah, we're not as savvy in emptying tourist pocket as Singapore. Singapore will try to grab the last drop. Sorry if you're from Singapore. Even as you were about to leave the airport, I saw hands. You have the mic. Wow, you're clever.
I have the mic. My name is Brian Renaud. I'm also a student at the Kennedy School. And I wanted to take a step back a bit and talk more about IDR's role, because I used to work at a think tank, and I was curious to hear you speak about the kind of think tank of the state. You told us already about some of the benefits, so creating space where there's fewer barriers to people interacting with the government and things like that. So I was just a little curious to hear more about where IDR sits in terms of relations with the government and how revenues work in supporting it, and what sort of why have either a separate branch or some level of separation between the government and IDR in terms of benefits.
All right. Okay. Before I joined IDR, I was a think tank in EPU, and believe me, there's different in the way we operate. Because in Perak here, we receive grant totally from the government to operate our operation and our research and so on, and have a complete freedom on how I engage people, on how we get the best studies on board, get the best people. Of course, the board member is headed by the chief minister himself, so we report to him quarterly, on a quarterly basis. But I think this is, as a CEO, I have complete freedom as long as I understand his aspiration. So you just have to understand his aspiration and try to make sure that your programs and your strategy somehow fits into what he aspires. And I think also it was very helpful to mention that he was formerly a professor at university, so he appreciates the think tank more. He was also a CEO of think tank before, so I'm lucky in a way that I don't have to argue, I don't have to because he's very understanding of what we're supposed to do, and he appreciates independence of our thinking, so that there will be various input that he receive, not just from certain school of thought. And in fact, he insists for us to make sure that we engage a lot of people, a lot more parties, all those things. Yeah. Selfie, yeah.
You're wrapping up.
Yeah. I hope that's good.
Yeah. Do other states have a similar model?
There's Penang Institute, Penang Institute for Penang, Terengganu Institute, and I think Johor is creating one as well as Kedah. But yeah, but they tend to be some very political think tank, but we try to play apolitical. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Okay, sir.
Hi, I'm Joel Smoot. I'm also at the Harvard Kennedy School. I sort of thought the comparison to Costa Rica was interesting. Costa Rica has world-renowned rainforests, but they're also known for really progressive environmental policies that keep those rainforests lush and etc. So, I mean, that's why people go to Costa Rica, for the rainforests. And I'm wondering, your rainforest here sounds incredible. It was 130 million years old. Certainly the marketing of the rainforest is very important for people to come. But so is environmental policies that ensure that the rainforest is protected and restored. And as your economy grows and as your population grows and you want to leapfrog economic development, that comes with buildings, construction, all the things that tend to infringe upon rainforests. So I'm wondering how you're going to balance your economic priorities for growth with ensuring that this pristine rainforest is, if not maintained or even improved upon for your tourism.
I think we have a model to follow as far as the mangrove forest preservation is concerned. There was active quote-unquote exploitation of the mangroves at the Matang mangrove forest. It produced one of the best charcoal. One of the best charcoal that is exported to Japan to produce the charcoal peel and things like that. But also in terms of managing it, replanting it, and making sure that it stays vibrant is one of the most successful story for us. So I think that's a model. You can still exploit, but you understand the value of making sure that it's pristine. It's still not destroying, and that's why. Again, lucky to be under Dr. Zamri as Chief Minister. I can't remember, I can't pull up figures, but he just allocate another few thousand hectares to be reinvigorated. 10,000 hectares to be reinvigorated back into and part of the larger forest reserve. And also he is increasing the land areas for mangrove as well. So I think those are some of the elements, because we understand now with the flood, with all these things, we understand the value of why one needs to take care of the environment. Yes.
We are the main green belt. This state is the main green belt for the peninsula. 52% of the commercial on our rainforest is 130 million years old, 5 times the size of Singapore. Is gazetted under the royal under royal it's called royal below, so it's protected, and it's still home to more than 100 tigers and home to 10 species of hornbill, more than what Borneo has, and of course home to the biggest flower in the world, Rafflesia. That's belum rainforest. So if you have a day off, please go.
If not, you come to IDR, you get to see.
If I also may add on, the Upper Bloom Rainforest Reserve has been gazetted more than 300,000 acres. The Perak Amanjaya, plus the Perak Amanjaya Forest Reserve, and also the Lower Bloom Forest Reserve gazetted, which cannot be encroached, is almost 500,000 acres.
They don't even allow fishing there. Yeah. You can't even fish in there.
Unless you are
indigenous
people, if you are not, then you
they have they call it the customary rights.
But of course, our problem is illegal logging. But we are not from Malaysia. We have done some enforcement, and we have arrested some of them. Thankfully, fortunately or unfortunately, they are not Malaysians. Most of them are not Malaysians. It is a big syndicate. So, but we are addressing it.
I think that's quite high level of understanding, and that is shown by the authority.
And the other thing that you have to remember that normally we have a quota. Of course, it is one of our main incomes, which is clothing, timber. But we have a quota annually, and we never exceed 50-60% even of the quota. We never use up all the quota every year. And whenever we log, we timber, then there will be a program of reforestation.
All right, sir.
Yeah, hi. Thank you for the presentation and the answering to all of these questions. I'd like to know a little bit better about the relationship between the state and the federal government. So we learned that they have a strong plan to promote long-term development in Malaysia, and we've seen here today that you also have lots of initiatives and your own vision about how the state should be developed. So my question is, how do you conciliate the initiatives and to avoid overlapping and promote some complements between the...
Okay, we're lucky in a way but there's of course issue of federalism. You know that any state federal situation face. One that I heard, for example, in terms of water, electricity and water, and how there's some tension, and how can state gain more from its natural resources. Of course, there's some tension, but there's always dialogue between the state and the federal government with various ministries. So that, and at the same time also, ministries have their own state setup, and that state setup is also answerable to the state secretary. So that's how I suppose reconciliation is being done. And of course, issues come up here and there. So far, issues like water, electricity, are all being solved and to benefit of the state. But again, every state will try to vie for more grants or more allocation from the federal because they contribute to that. And normally they have dialogue with the Prime Minister. Prime Minister come around and have a dialogue with the Prime Minister, and also dialogue with the Minister of Economy to settle all those.
If I can see, Malaysia has both centralized and decentralized.
Oh, sir. Hello, my name is Jiro. I graduated from Kennedy School 2012. Now I'm the head of ALD in Japan. So first, I'd like to say thank you so many times touch upon Japan and Japanese Japan industry. So maybe it's first meeting and last meeting, as Japan is losing kind of the position in the international society. My question is that how do you compete or stand out or differentiate with other states? So in terms of the retiring Japanese, accepting retired Japanese people. Now it's more people are considering to live abroad, and Malaysia is one of the candidate city. First, that low crime rate, good climate, and the low cost of living, and would take a lot have access to the medication, and in then I think the distance from Japan is not so far. Then on the other hand, it's unfortunately, it's my first time to have the name of the state of Perak and Ipoh as well. So then it means there's so many space you can promote this state in Japan. So the first initiative is very important, that the more and more people start to live in this place, they can surely spread their words to among the people. The first mover will take the good position in the market. So do you have any idea to stand out among these new initiatives?
All right, thank you so much. Yes, of course. I'm not surprised. During one of our workshop with folks here in Perak, I was also discovering a lot more that I don't understand. I said, hey, this state has a lot of best kept secret, and you've been keeping it very, very secretive. You know, we now that we have a very progressive government, I would say, in the state government, and a very friendly investment agencies, and led by Dato' Zahir, you know, really understand the need for us to win over some of this. We have to make extra effort, of course, and fortunately, I have to say this, IDR have been invited end of the month to Akita Prefecture because you know, after Panko International Development Dialogue, there's some we realize that there's some similarity, and we have to work together. For example, Akita was once good in silver mining, and they had the under UNESCO Northern Forest. We were once good in tin. We have Belong Forest, and both are, you know, having this asset. Both has gone through those similar downhills, so we are working on it. So it as part of my work here is to inspire growth. You know, that's IDR's new tagline, inspiring growth. So we don't mind working with anybody as long as they grow, the economy grow, the state will grow, and things will be better for the rest of the people. So yes, we have to work extra hard. We have to plan for something a lot more to make sure that the state will be well known. So I'm not surprised, but at least now you know, and you can help us promote this. I think I have one more. Thank you so much.
My name is DJ, and my family hometown is in Ipoh, so it's to my great concern on the issue of brain drain for the state. So it is widely known, or we have a deep perception that if Perakians want to succeed and have greater career prospects, we will go to more advanced states like Kuala Lumpur, Selangor, or Singapore. So my question is, so if Perak wants to make this leapfrog into a more advanced state, is what I heard is that your strategy is to promote and brand yourself as a place for retirees. But so how is that? So what is this policies and strategies that you're taking to actually attract the youth back to this state?
I think retirees resources, and the fact is that land is state matter, and we can allocate, you know, areas for that. But we have done a lot of effort actually to attract youth. We have created PECA. PECA is a career center, Amanjaya Career Center, whereby we work directly with industries and link them to their human resource need, and, you know, try to fill in to their needs. At the same time, we also create Port. Port is a center for youth to come and you know, as a platform for them to enhance or harness their creativities and their energies. Port stands for People of Remarkable Talents. It's a center. At the same time, we also have a state minister in charge of youth that is very, very youthful in his approach. And I think he thinks it is youth, I guess, yeah. He is still youth, so he understands youth matters, and there's a lot of engagement with youth. Also, IDR itself, we are doing a lot of program with youth. Our main focus is actually youth, but we don't want to be like the old ways whereby we dictate your program, we dictate your way of doing things to us. It has to be youth for youth, you know. So and that engagement so far has been quite successful with the way we do our work here. Open a lot of people's you know, correcting a lot of perception that is very wrong, that, you know, we as a government entity we're still as before. At IDR, for example, Friday is still our dress down day, where we wear jeans, and, you know, so Yeah, Datuk, sorry, we wear jeans on Friday, Datuk.
I wear jeans also.
So we really want to be able to relate to inside as well as outside stakeholders for IDR. We're doing quite a lot. In fact, Amanjaya Ambassador or Duta Amanjaya is another platform that we create for you to come forward and give back to society or be part of a process of making Perak a better place for all.
Already I think that's why you see a young-looking CEO for IDR. So we have to. And then we're creating this center called People of Remarkable Talent, because we realize today's youth. They are not thinking the way, because Gen Y and the platinum generation is thinking very differently. To them, music and arts, can be a good source of living and income for them. And with the state has been producing a lot of names in the artist industry, in the industry. For example, this cartoonist, Lat is from Perak, and he still stays here. He's very famous in Japan, in Europe actually, Lat. And we also have some of the designers. Even Jimmy Choo spent a lot of time here. Jimmy Choo design shoes. But there's a huge shoe manufacturing cluster here. It's just that we are not yet becoming like the Milan of Italy, but we have good designers here. And I'm also on the board of the Ahmadiyya Career Center. What we're seeing is that there are a lot of youth who wants to stay in the state. But the industry has to move up, has to move beyond assembly and test to value added. That's why the focus on value added, I talked earlier between becoming low cost and focus. We have to move to focus and niche. Then we can create value added. Then we can retain you. And the growth must go that way. I think if you continue to grow on a low cost, you're not going to be for a long time.
I think I've received signal that we need to close. But if you can't sleep, if you ask question, you better ask. Yeah.
It's just a very quick follow-up on exactly that. So does that require also just analysis of what are the industries and what are the industries and skills that youth are actually interested in working in, and whether that's in alignment with the service sectors with the type of service sectors that you are making progress in, because if there's a mismatch, then you might not be able to attract, right? And in fact, that you might have a big skill gap problem in the state. So how are you thinking about that alignment in?
What we realize is that when the manufacturing policy came into the country in the mid-80s, it coincided with the collapse of the commodity market. So tin price went down, capital went out. At that time, the state were hoping that there will be a revival of the mining industry. It took too long. And the other states like Penang, and Johor and Selangor has gone on to develop their manufacturing industry. And over time, in a way, it serves as a blessing, because today we are more ready to build up our tourism industry. Because if we had developed the way the other states have done, I don't think we will have the Royal Belong 5 times of Singapore today. Probably be one of the biggest manufacturing plant there. So then we start to pick up and realize, hey, we still have this. We still have Royal Belong. The highway is cutting across the state. We need to punch a hole, make sure they stop by and spend more. Like what you said, tourist spending is too low, and spend more nice. We got to encourage more hotels and inbound tourist agencies to start looking at Perak seriously. We've got to promote more, as you rightly said. We have not been promoting well. And we got to build, for example, on our strength. For example, like now there's a revival of mineral-based industries. Although iron ore price went down, copper went down, but tin is still doing very well at $20,000 a ton. And with the better exchange rate, the US dollar, although the rest of the countries suffer, but those in the mining industry, particularly, will benefit greatly because our cost of production is still very low for that mining industry, and we have a lot of deposits. So my agency, particularly, we are being tasked to harness the value of minerals, but in a sustainable and responsible manner. We are not here to cut trees. We're here to mine responsibly. So we are following the best practice of what what Australia and Europe have got standards on all of this. So this is some of the key industries that we're focusing on. Similarly, we realize we are home to many. There are about 100 multinationals, like limestone industry. There's Omnia, there's Imeris. There are many mineral based which are not doing much. They're doing extraction, simple processing, and export. So these are the things that we have to work on. And we have, in the Perak Majaya plan, we have identified this, but now it's time to implement. We are working very closely with the Federation of Malaysian Manufacturers, MICCI, ACCCI, the American Chamber of Commerce. So now it's basically an implementation work, but still, there are a lot more things to do. And then the past 3 years has been great. We've been growing at a rate of about 7.3%. We are top 3 in the country in terms of economic growth. We are only worried about the prospect of this year because of the oil price and the commodity price. So, but otherwise, if we keep focusing on what we should do best, I think we will be there. And I'm very confident Perak will once again rise again to become one of the top economy in the state, in the country.
Okay, certainly, I'm moving, and I think you want to say something?
In fact, that's exactly what I wanted to say. I wanted to help you close it, and I wanted to close it on a very high note, because I must say that I have been so heartened to hear the sharing between, the Asia Leadership Track and the IDR, and supplemented by the enthusiastic sharing by both, Datuk Zahir and Datuk Amin. Dr. Mazalan, thank you so much. My mother, the true blue Malaysian, comes from Perak, and today I stand so proud to be here, because I was formerly from Singapore. I'm now a Malaysian. I'm one of those who came the other way. I'm very happy about it. All right. And my father's from Hong Kong, so we have chosen Malaysia as our home. And like I said, my mother comes from Perak. So. And I'm so glad that for the Asia Leadership Track, we chose to come to Perak. And when we talk about leapfrogging, into being a high-income state, I have no doubt about it. I am sold the way you have shared. Thank you so much. And so I think it's time for us all to really thank you, Dr. Mazalan and your team, and together with, Dr. Zahir and Dr. Amin. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for listening. Sorry for the heat, but I think I'm glad with all those questions, and thank you, the two Datuk here, for helping me out. Unscripted. Okay, Roslan.
Thank you, Dr. Mazalan. As promised, we're going downstairs to test the chili and the durian. Are we ready with the chili and durian? Okay. But before we do that, there's a little gift that we would like to have to settle first. On behalf of Dr. Zahir, accompanied by Dr. Mazalan, to present a little token. It is something that used to when you get married, you give this. Are you married? For the second time. You get
Something very traditional, yeah.
Dr. Mazalan Kamis. She's from Borneo as well. Thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, for me.
Thank you.